Once I was retired from strongman and lifting, I always wanted to get into film of some kind on some level. Some people are kind of scratching their heads like, how did you go from this to this? The Cube method for strongman, it was the first and still honestly one of the only programs you can have some direction.
It's time to sit down, keep it real, and cut the bullshit. Welcome to Table Talk.
All right, guys, we're back with another episode of Table Talk. Today, my guest is Josh Thigpen. Before I get into your intro, we have a private crew that helps support the podcast, that has a Discord forum and emails and all that kind of stuff. And I asked them for questions to be able to post out to some guests. And this question, while we got a lot to talk about, is the one that kind of stuck out to me. And it was, how does a man who held 600 pounds in each hand become a fantasy filmmaker? Which is a big, broad question. So as concise as you can, because we'll get into this.
Yeah, I mean, it's what I've always wanted to do. And so once I was retired from strongman and lifting, I always wanted to get into film and of some kind on some level. And then the story just came to me. So I wrote it and I'm like, I'm going to make it. This is what I'm going to do.
Did you have a passion for the fantasy genre?
Yeah. I mean, those types of films and shows, whether it's, Braveheart's my favorite movie, The Lord of the Rings, Gladiator, all that type of stuff. I just love swords and, hope, honor, battling, all those kinds of things. And so
cool stuff.
Yeah, all that cool stuff. And so it just came naturally to me. I'm like, if I'm going to make something, it might as well be fantasy. It might as well be cool. It might as well be fun.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that is kind of, some people are kind of scratching their heads. Like, how did you go from this to this? But when you're done, as you know, you have to have something that you're passionate about, that keeps you going and keeps you keeps your attention. Otherwise I'll come right back to it. I'll be right back lifting, and my body is just like, stop. Last time I tried to make it come back, I got strong, but there's injuries there. It's like you have to have something that's going to make you do. So that was always the plan anyway. So I just kept, I was like, all right, let's actually do it now. It's time to actually make it.
All right. So quick intro is Josh is a former strongman spanning 20 years, competing over 60 contests, 30 countries, competed in 4 World's Strongest Man, been on 12 international platforms. There's a big list here, so I'm kind of skimming through this thing. Has held the most ever by any human, 600 pounds in one hand. Is also an author, written 13 best-selling books, The Cube Method for Strongman, we'll get into. Several other ones, and currently works in the film industry as a creator, writer, actor, director, producer, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So where to start? When did you first start training? So not for strongman, but just in general.
I started working out. I was probably 12 years old. I was a skinny, little, weak guy. And I was lucky enough to have a coach in 7th grade for 7th grade football. I mean, I was on the B team. I was tiny, right? But I had a coach he was a mean SOB. He was not a nice guy, but he trained us. He taught us how to lift. And so that's where I started.
This is in Texas, right?
This is in Texas, yeah.
Right.
And so it was about...
That's not typical back anywhere else.
Yeah. In Texas, that's what you do. You start lifting, you get better at football when you're a kid, and then you get after it. But he really taught us. I mean, like if other schools were hanging out, in the off season, we were working. He called it Camp Fun. And it was anything but fun. He put us through it, man. We trained hard. And so I honestly learned how to really work, as well as the proper technique and whatnot back then. So that work ethic stayed the whole way. I was still skinny. It took a while. It took a good, 4 or 5 years to actually.
How tall were you at the time?
Man, back then I was skinny. I was short. I was probably a running back, and so I was one of the shorter guys. I mean, I was
5'8".
Yeah, shorter than that. Yeah,
so
way shorter.
So you hit a growth spurt late.
Yeah, when I got to my freshman year, I hit a growth spurt. But the problem is I grew a good 5-6 inches my freshman year, but I stayed the same weight. So I just stretched out and got skinnier in my freshman year. Then I started to finally put on some size once I stopped growing height wise. And so I grew to, in high school, I got to about 6'3" my freshman year. And then I ended up at about 6'5" when I graduated. So
they moved you from fullback then to line?
Yeah, I played tight end eventually, which was a perfect probably position for me, combining the speed with the strength and all that, because I had a lot of speed back then and could jump as well and athleticism. But I was never I always had a fast metabolism, so I was fairly skinny. But at least muscle started to come on.
Did you play Pee-wee football? I'm just thinking of the athleticism and the explosive strength.
Yeah.
It usually develops younger.
I didn't play any Pee-wee sports. I had a friend who we were both obsessed with lifting. And so we would get all the magazines we could, Flex magazine, all that stuff, and just sit there and look at it. But we trained a buddy of mine. We would go in his garage and do 1,000 rep calf raises. I mean, we were just insane, do whatever we could. And then the vertical, and the explosiveness and the speed started to come with it. And so, looking back, I'm like, I should have probably focused on football. I could have made a little more money, and then when I'm done, then get into strongman, right? But who knows? Maybe the injuries could have come on, and I couldn't have done strongman. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I had the speed and the athleticism and all that. But I chose strongman. I don't know why.
When did that start?
It was around the same time because I was so skinny. I saw it, on TV. I mean, we didn't even have cable when I was a kid. So I would just look in the TV guide, see World's Strongest Man. I couldn't
know what you're talking about.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that there was.
It was always at 2 a.m. or something screwed up too.
Yeah, exactly. So I would have friends record it.
Yeah.
And literally I had a VHS tape. The kids don't even know what a VHS tape is. We had a VCR, a VHS tape, and I would record. I got, 10 World's Strongest Men competitions recorded. And I would just wear that tape out. I just watched that over and over. And so around that time, and then I got Milo magazine. I started Powerlifting USA. Actually, in Powerlifting USA, they had an ad for Milo. I saw Gary Taylor lifting a big stone. And I was like, what the heck is that?
It's crazy. It's like a secret little pipeline you had to navigate with. The VHS cracks me up because just last week I had somebody ask me about that had no idea. And I said, well, it's like a bigger version of a cassette tape.
Right.
And they didn't know what that was.
What is a cassette tape?
No, I'm lost. I'm like, oh man, I had to Google it and find a picture.
Explain it.
But the interesting thing that you just said that I never really dawned on me is first off, finding Powerlifting USA was not easy, right? It might be a little ad in Muscle and Fitness, maybe.
Yeah.
Sometimes a grocery store may have it, but that wasn't easy. You had to know somebody that you car
hook up, yeah.
And then Milo was even harder.
Very hard.
Right? So you have to go through this
progression,
this hidden, Super Mario tunnel level stuff
to be able
to get into it.
Yeah.
And then the Milo stuff was where most of the strongman was at the time.
I love Milo.
And grip. The strongman and grip.
Okay. I don't know that I knew about, you're saying the Milo. Yeah. 100%. It was like my Bible, man. I had, every time it came in, I was just I held it like it was sacred, I could not believe it. And so it's very difficult to find. You have to go through that progression. How do you find it? But you have to, it's strange because there's a generation of strongmen, like the guys I came up with, whether it's Dave Ostlund, Kevin Nee, those guys, they had the exact same progression. So we all watched World's Strongest Man on ESPN at some late night or recorded it or whatever we could do. And that made us want to do strongman. There was nothing else. Once we saw it, once it got embedded, it was like, we have to do that. There's nothing else you can do.
It's interesting because I want to kind of dig into what about it kind of attracted you, because bodybuilding was easy. Right, because it was in every magazine, grocery store. That was very easy to find.
Yeah.
And then for me, finding the powerlifting was like, oh God, holy grail.
Yeah.
But then when I would see, Milo or any of the other stuff, completely not interested. Like powerlifting was the thing. For some people, it's the bodybuilding.
Yeah.
When I first found Milo, it was like completely non-interested. Because it's not the squat bench.
Sure.
I mean, totally not interested to the point where it's not even worth reading any of this stuff.
Wow. Okay.
And so, whereas you and a lot of the other guys that kind of fell into that was like, that's it. Then Powerlifting USA and the other ones just become this tertiary, if that, thing that's not even there. And what about it? Because I get seeing the strongman, because we all kind of saw that, and it was cool as hell, especially back then, the way it was produced and put out there, and the mixing of athletes. That was another thing, because they didn't have, at that point, they didn't have, I don't know, I'm guessing not enough competitors. So throw a bodybuilder in there, throw a football player in there, then they start getting hurt, Franco Colombo blowing his knee out. Then that, and the sport grew. But what about it attracted you? Because I just saw it as like, this is manual labor. I do this shit and I don't like doing it, but I have to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something about, like, maybe it's something primitive, I don't know, but like seeing guys lifting stones, something about it, I was just like, this is, I had a feeling I would be better at it than like powerlifting or something. Like, just based on my athleticism, I knew I was too tall for bodybuilding, and I didn't really want to go that route anyway. But it's like, it hit a sweet spot. Like when I saw it, I was like, that's it. I saw a stone lifting, and I was like, that's what I'm supposed to do. I saw, like you said, in Milo, they talked about things like, they had like poems of strength and honor and things like that. And it just hit home with me. I don't know why. It was just like, I was like, this is what I've been missing. This is what I need in my life. I could not tell you why. But you watch, like you said, watching The World's Strongest Man, that's kind of one of the things I miss, is that not only do they have guys from, all different walks of strength and whatnot, but they would always be in some crazy place. They would always, so to me, it was romantic, not romantic in the sense of, love and whatnot. It was like something epic about it, like seeing Kaz versus Jean Paul battling it out in Hungary somewhere in the woods, like to me, it's like, that's a movie. Like it's Hercules versus Thor, you got, to me, it was like, this is real life superheroes, that's what it felt like. And so that's just, I was like, that I want to be a part of that. And it's like, you can actually do that. You can travel the world lifting crazy stuff for a living. And you can, even though a lot of people think you can't do it for a living. But in the last 15, 20 years, I haven't done anything but strongman, like job-wise. And so anyway, I don't know, something about it. I probably couldn't even like pinpoint it. It was just something that seemed like a movie. That's the best way I can describe it.
As I've gotten older and become more of that washed up meathead, I think about things way too much. You're probably the same way, like looking back, thinking about things way more than what we probably should, try to figure things out.
Yeah.
And what I think with that attracted me to the powerlifting, and because the stone's a stone, nobody knows what the stone weighs, right? Where I'm trying to like validate myself to others.
Right, I see.
Right. So it's easy to know that's 135, 225, 315. Right, so, okay, screw you for thinking you were better than me. Here, I can do this.
Right.
And, it's just over-analyzing, psychoanalyzing, all this crap. But whereas, with the stones and those other implements, it would be more, if I'm trying to do this to position myself as being better than somebody else for my own gratification, then you take all the weights away, then you're doing it pretty much just for yourself, for the love of whatever that implement is.
Sure.
It's weird to kind of explain,
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're saying, so like, it's like, there's like a more measurable, like I've got this much weight you can say like it's exactly this much more than you, right?
A lot of, you know this from being around, a lot of people that get into strength sports are getting into it for, you know, reasons of being bullied, neglect, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of fall into that. But the longer I've been around, I see that seems to be, you know, I'm quoting anecdotally, more the case in powerlifting than it is the case in strongman. You know, because a lot of strongman seem to come from other sport backgrounds.
Right.
You know, that kind of migrate over.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true across all of them, right? Because it's individual sport.
Yeah.
Where it's, you know, I just try to figure out because there is no money. I mean, none of those things are even aspirational. And even if you're playing high school football, you kind of know, like, hey, if I make it, you know, I'm going to be a millionaire or whatever it's going to be.
Sure.
In bodybuilding, they kind of made it seem like that way, but not really.
Yeah,
you know, you kind of knew. Yeah. And then in powerlifting, you knew for a fact. And then in strongman, you knew for a fact that that's not there. So you're doing it for your own reasons.
Right.
And then community will begin to form,
sure.
You know, after that. So when you started, was there a training crew that you were in, or was it just you?
When I started, there was absolutely nothing. I mean, the guys have it so good now. They don't understand how they have it. Not only right after high school, I decided to compete. So as soon as I was out, I was like, I'm free. I'm doing this. I was 19. So I found whatever contest there was, and the only contest there was in Indiana. You know, I'm in Houston, so I'm having to fly up to Indiana just to find a competition.
How'd you find it?
It was the old, what was that forum called? Diesel Power Forum?
Okay. Yeah.
I think it was. Mm-hmm. And so somebody just posted, I want to say probably Chad Coy, posted the Diesel Power Forum. We're having the Central USA up here. And I was like, well, I'm flying. I don't care. I'm going to go. That was literally the only contest for months in the entire country. And so I flew up there. I was 19. Competing against grown men who have done, I mean, Don Pope was at that contest. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like Steve Carrot. I mean, tons of guys but I actually, and I'm not.
These were top strongmen at the time.
Strongmen who have been doing it. I actually thought I was going to win. That's how insane I was. I had never trained the equipment. I was 19. I always, every contest I ever entered, I thought I was going to win. But anyway, I got a rude awakening, competed there, and tried to compete for, I think I did like 27th out of 37 guys. There was a teenage division. I could have entered that, but I didn't want to. I was like, I'm going to compete with grown men. If I would have entered the teen division, I would have won every event, you know, but I was like, who cares about that? I'm not here for that. I should have. Looking back, I'm like, okay, let's make some progression. Let's make some goals. Let's set up a program here. But anyway, there was no training crew either. So I didn't have any of, not only did I not train with the equipment, I just didn't even have it. I didn't even have access. And so I found the only other strongman I could find at the time who was in Texas, a guy named Donovan Raskin, shout out to Donovan. He's done like 300 competitions. I don't know how many. He hooked me up finally with Travis Ortmayer.
Well, how was the camaraderie at the event? You know, first event you ever went to, you're 19 years old.
Yeah.
And I mean, you got top strongman there.
Yeah.
Was it welcoming or was it?
It was welcoming, but I was too shy to talk to anyone because they were grown men. I mean, I was having to go to the bathroom like constantly. Like, I was sick. I was so nervous. I used to get very nervous before competition.
But there was nothing there that turned you off of it.
No, nothing turned me off. And I loved it so much. Even if it had, I would have done it anyway. But as I got better, there was definitely the camaraderie there. Strongman is like no other. That I haven't really done powerlifting, so I can't say. But in strongman, it's a super camaraderie. Although I will say at my first contest, I was, like I said, I was nervous. So I went to the bathroom, used up all the toilet paper. And then I come out and there's Brian Schoonfeld first in line, and a line of about 20 strongmen standing there looking at me. And I know I just used up all the toilet paper. Yeah, Brian Schoonfeld is just staring. You know, Brian, who that is. And so he's a very intimidating guy, and he's just standing there staring at me. And so I just kind of quietly walk off to the side. But even he would have, if I would have asked him for tips or something, he would have given it to me. And so later on, as I got a little bit more into it, but I mean, at my second contest, the guy asked me if I was helping or competing. I was that skinny. He was like, you're not here to compete, right? I was like, nah, I'm competing. Anyway, so
after that first one, you hooked up with, you just mentioned his name. I forgot.
Yeah. After a couple, 2 or 3 contests, I hooked up with Donovan Raskin, and I went to nationals, and I performed okay. I won an event at nationals. I was like, okay, I have, there's something there. And so he hooked me up with Travis, and it was like, come to find out, Travis had like all of the equipment. It was like walking in here for me, because he had everything. And so he was about an hour away from me.
Was that when he had it in like a storage container?
It was in a storage container. We called it the unit because it was in a storage unit. And so we all trained out there. Travis, myself, Jim Glassman, and a couple other guys. Travis's dad, Pops. Shout out to Roger.
I got to hear some stories, because when I had him out, he was telling me some stories back then, and it was just insane.
Pops is the best, man. Roger was, but when we trained out there, it was, I mean, it was as hot as could be. It was like we're bleeding everywhere. And you couldn't go out there and not get better. Like you can't quit on an event when you got Pops yelling at you, finish this, weak ass son of a,
I'm always looking for ways to improve my training, business, life, but none of that matters if my sleep is trash. If your sleep sucks, your recovery and performance is compromised. Sleep is the ultimate recovery tool, and temperature plays a massive role in this. This is where the Chili Pad comes in. It's a water-based, temperature-controlled mattress topper that fits any bed. You can set the temperature from 55 degrees to 115 degrees and even schedule changes throughout the night. It also has dual zone control, so I can stay cool while my wife stays warm. Visit www.sleepme/tabletalk to get 20% off your Chili Pad with code TABLETALK. This special offer is available for Table Talk listeners and only for a limited time. Order it today with free shipping and try it out for 30 days. You can return it for free if you don't like it with their Sleep Me trial. Visit www.sleepme/tabletalk and see why cold sleep is your ultimate ally in performance and recovery.
So and Travis is yelling at you. So even though we competed week in and week out, we were rooting for each other at the same time. But we just trained like animals. We one time went and we trained all day. He loved it equally as much as I did. So he would say he loved it more. But
and you would argue back.
And then I would one up him and we would keep going. But we trained one day, completely devastated, wiped out, and then we would go back to his house and watch what we called game tape. So we would just watch World's Strongest Man or watch whatever, studying things, and then we would eat. And at midnight one day, I just was like, I'll go back out and train right now. And Travis was like, well, so will I. I was like, right on, let's go. Neither one of us would call each other's bluff. So we went out, we would go back out to the unit at midnight and just hook up a yoke, start training yoke. I mean, things that are stupid, right? But we did it anyway. It worked. I mean, we at one point trained 2-a-days. We heard that Marius was training twice a day, so we were like, we'll train twice a day. We were amateurs and trying to turn, we had turned pro, but we wanted to go to either IFSA at the time or World's Strongest Man. One of those two. We didn't know how we were going to get there. So we just said, let's work as hard as we can and good things are going to happen.
Well, we can look back, and even mid-career, you can kind of look back and say that was stupid, right? Mm-hmm. But here's the interesting part about that is everybody that I speak to that's competed at the highest levels, all have gone through things like that.
Yeah.
So stupid, but so then the question is it necessary? Right. And I don't really know the answer to that, because physically, no. Like we know that. Right. But mentally, maybe that's developing something, that you're not going to develop any. I don't know the answer to it. I just see it all the time. Sure. Now, there comes a point where you realize this is overreaching, And it is stupid because it's hindering your strength.
Right.
But I wonder if you don't know what that breaking point is unless you actually hit it.
It's true.
Right. And it gets into that whole, conversation if people don't train hard anymore, then that becomes weird for me because how do you define hard? Because how you define it will be different than me, and your hardest hard is your hard.
Right.
And my hardest hard is my hard. And that's not, it's this really weird conversation. But over a period of time, if it starts to negatively impact your performance,
right.
The last place you want to look is there, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think it develops you mentally, but it also shows where you're at mentally. So like, had we just even having the thought to go back out and train, that just shows where we were at, like that's how much we wanted it. That's how much we were invested. That's how much we loved what we were doing. Even though we were working, it wasn't work. We loved it, right? Every second of it, man. Every single second. When you're laying on the concrete, the sun's blasting on you, you feel like you're about to die. You can't find any shade. You can't get cool. Your whole entire body is burning. You need to throw up. You're bleeding, but you love it.
You love it. Yeah.
I mean, it was a great time. But yes, I agree. I think it shows something mentally, and it does build something for sure. And to your point, and that's a whole nother rant, but it is the key for anybody is finding what works for them. Like you said, it's hard. It's what's hard, but it's what's the most beneficial too. And so you've got what's stupid and what might be good mentally and all that. But then it's like, does it also reach the end goal the most efficient way possible?
Yeah, because the downside is, well, there's some other upsides to this as well, is strip away the intensity, strip away the weight, right? Because you're getting more repetition.
Right.
Right. So even when you went back on that second day, it's still reinforcing that skill. Right. Now, it'd be better if the load wasn't always super high, so you actually were reinforcing the skill instead of reinforcing. So I'm making some assumptions here with that. But you kind of learn over time how to auto-regulate. But with all that overuse, because from 18 to 25, you can pretty much do anything and get away with it.
Yeah. But
I wonder when it's like balls deep like that, there's always accumulated wear and tear. That if those years were managed better, then you were able to stick on, say, another 3
right
at the end, before the decline starts to happen, but you get 3 more extra years at your peak.
100%.
Holy shit.
Yep.
And now you're talking 5% higher than your absolute best if that was managed. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's the benefit that the athletes today have, is people like yourself can help them to be able to manage that. So they do get that extra 5% off the back end, where here's the caveat. Maybe you had people in your ear too, but you were just like, screw you, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And that's the way that they'll be today.
Yeah.
So the trick is to try to balance that communication.
I mean, just like you said, that there's nothing anybody could have said. It doesn't matter. I could go back in time, slap myself in the face. I'm going to do it. You want it right there. And like that's, if I could tell anything to anybody, and even though I know they won't listen, the younger guys, it's that literally, okay, if you really love it, you're going to be in the sport for a while, right? Be okay with small gains. Be okay with building it up over time, because no one's going to remember. Everyone wants it right now. Everyone wants to be the best right now, to lift the most weight. You don't have to go that heavy right now. And they're like, well, what if I lose this next contest? No one remembers. If you could lose 100 competitions in a row, but if you win World's Strongest Man, nobody remembers those 100 that you lost at all. They only remember the World's Strongest Man. Not that you're doing it for what anyone remembers or not, but that's why people want to. They want to prove to their friends, to whoever, social media, that they can do it now. It's like, just wait.
Well, that's the rub though, because were we not the same?
We were, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And because I would have, top lifters, trying to help me. And part of me, I'm not going to say I ignored them. Like I'm listening, but I'm like, well, you're just telling me this because you don't want me to get better because you're afraid I might be,
Right.
You're validating your own bullshit,
Yeah.
because you're biased towards what you're doing. But what I didn't have outside of maybe one person were retired ones.
Yeah.
Because I think that message would have been different, right? Because the competitive ones, you're like, because you ultimately want to beat them.
Sure.
Even if they're stratospheres ahead of you, you're still wanting to be able to beat them. So you're going to justify.
Sure.
And that's not their intent, by the way.
No,
I mean, they really want to help, but you're going to twist it, to be able to make that play to what you want to do. As you're working through all this, at what point did looking at the training become a priority?
I mean, I was always trying to figure out what could be the best way. When I was doing it, when I started, there was no program or anything that we were all doing it, playing it by ear. We were all trying to figure it out as we went. We were all walking experiments. I mean, if you want to do it, become a bodybuilder. There's a million books. There's a million programs that you can get online. You can do, if you want to become a powerlifter, there's programs you can follow. You can do this, linear periodization, west side, whatever you want to do. But for strongman, there was absolutely no training. So I was like, all right, there has to be a best way to do this, right? And so I was always tweaking. I was always trying to figure it out. I mean, it's kind of this is why I say you have to find what works best for you, because you have guys though that are anomalies that, when we talk about Marius, and I bring him up a lot because training wise, it doesn't make sense. People thought that he was just making this up. It wasn't real. He was just messing with people. It was real. He really trained this way.
For example,
he trained.
Give me some.
He trained twice a day. Strongman events in the either evening or morning, and then weights in the later on, or in the morning, and then in the evening he would do weights, like a Olympic / bodybuilding style workout. But in the middle of that, he was doing cardio. In the middle of the day, he was doing. He treated it like he was a professional. So what he did was he treated the strongman events as he was practiced as a sport.
Yeah,
I'm practicing these events. I'm not loading them up. We would load up as much as we possibly could and do one all-out, two all-out sets, and then maybe one. Whereas he's going maybe 70%, but doing 3 sets, 4 sets. So if by the end of he told me that he did yoke and deadlift 3 times a week. Most people are going to do that maybe twice a month.
Yeah.
He would do that 3 times a week. So if you do the math, by the time the contest comes around, let's say Marius has trained yoke 100 times or whatever, and you've trained it, 8 times or 6 times. I mean, who's got the better, you know what I mean? He knew his body was ready for whatever, his conditioning. I watched this man when we went to Mohegan Sun Arena, which was one of the peaks of strongman and my career and all that good stuff. But they had him as the tester for the events before the competition. Nobody in their right mind would even consider doing that. You take a week or 2 off before the contest. I went down to the arena and looked at we went 8. I go down to the arena. Marius is running with the yoke back and forth. This is good. This is good. It's okay. He's literally picking up the car. This is a good weight. It's okay. He's going through the entire contest 3 or 4 times. And then he shows up an hour later and dominates the competition. Why? Because his training, he was used to it. He was used to doing, his father was an Olympic lifter. So in Olympic lifting, they're training day off, day before, doing real weights. And so he kind of took that thought process with him. and did the events, did the weights, he'll do it the same day, the day before, it doesn't matter. And looking back, I mean, I always did better in longer contests. So if it went 2 or 3 days, I was better on the second and third day. So he might have knew what he was doing. Like, it primes you, get some kind of, I don't know what the term would be, but it primes you physically and mentally when you lift something. Right, and that's why, like Shaw, he would do 60% day before, 40 to 60% day before. He just picked something up rather than just total rest. And that's what a lot of European guys do. Anyway, I'm getting off track, but he trained differently from anyone and has the most success, maybe in World's Strongest Man at least, as opposed to Zavickas, who trained each thing once a week. He did a lot of volume though. It's very strange. Anyway, you have to find what worked for you. I think when you're beginning though, you can now, thanks to my program, you can actually say, okay, I'm going to start with this. I've got something to try. Some kind of direction, which before there was no direction whatsoever.
Well, the one thing that makes sense about Marius that you were saying was the skill acquisition. Like if you're bringing the load down, right? So it's not going to be as physically taxing, but you're going to get in 800% more reps.
Yep.
That would make complete sense if the skill needs to be acquired.
Right.
Now, a lot of these skills, I don't want to say it's kind of like riding a bike, but a lot of these skills, once you kind of master that skill, you may not necessarily need it in all those frequent bouts.
Sure.
But when you're going maximum all the time, that skill isn't perfect because load dictates the breakdown of that skill.
Right.
Right. So in some ways you're getting like none.
Yeah.
And then he's getting full sport practice like any other. This is one of the gripes I've had with powerlifting for so long too, is every other sport has practice.
Right.
To learn the skill. And there's thousands. When you played football, there were thousands of reps and drills that you did that when you put them together, ended up with how you would play in the game.
Yep.
But not in powerlifting or strength sports.
Right.
And it's like, this makes no sense. Like even if it was just very sub-maximal loads, to figure out the best skill for you.
Right.
But what I don't know with the strongman is once you've acquired that skill, because the implements change, so skills are going to change.
Yeah.
Even the deadlift positioning is going to change to where your skill is going to have to change.
Right.
So it's ever evolving to where I don't know if it's even necessary. Like steps with heavy weight, I get that. But even that will change, right? If the weight's not heavy, the stride's going to be bigger.
Yeah.
So you have all this different skill. How do you manage that?
Well, the way I managed it was...
or how did it evolve for you? Let's do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, it evolved just... Okay, well, before I get into that, let me just say this. I do think that people are too scared of overtraining. So this is part of the thought of Marius and why he trained this way, is that, okay, if you train some way, let's say you train as hard as you can, and for 1 week you go backwards, or you're not feeling it, whatever. Immediately people, I'm overtrained. This program doesn't work. That's automatically what people say. But if you just push through that week, then you're going to get better. So it's like, okay, it's all right. Maybe it's a little overtraining, but then you'll figure it out, and then you'll adjust, you'll adapt.
Yeah.
So the key is to find out the difference between adaptation and progression, because they're not the same thing. Because you can adapt, your body will adapt. Whatever you throw at it, it's going to over time adapt. But it's a matter of what's going to make the most progression. If you're trying to be the best at your sport, it's finding the line for you that where am I going to adapt, but also progress the most.
Yes.
So maybe I can do squats every day. Maybe I can work up to that. Is that going to be the most beneficial though? So what you have to do, like in strongman, eventually I was like, you know what? Okay, we're doing, there's, like you said, it could change. You have explosive stuff over here. You have reps over here. You got to carry weights over here. Okay, let's break this down. So what are the most seen events in a strongman show? Even though it changes, the 5 most seen are stones. That's in almost every contest. Some kind of overhead press, farmer's walk, yoke, and deadlift. So those are going to be in any, just about, if you're strong on those, you're going to be a good strongman across, you know what I mean? So it's okay. All right. Well, most guys, they have strongman events. They can't train. They don't necessarily train overhead on a event day, because that they do separate. They got to train, your triceps and your chest, all that stuff. So you put that as its own day. It's almost the most important event in strongman. People are going to argue with me and say back strength or legs. I'm not talking about strength. I'm talking about just events, numbers wise, percentage wise. Overhead press sometimes is in a contest twice. So at the Arnold, if they have 5 events, 2 of the 5 events are an overhead press. Anyway, so you give it its own day. But then you have a deadlift day. Okay, you got to train back and all that. So give that its own day. On the event days, you have to, it's like we were talking about, instead of just loading it up like we used to do, give a day where you're doing lighter stuff faster. You can blast out the sets if you want, have a speed day on that. And a lot of guys, when I started, since we were making it up, we're doing a hybrid kind of West Side training, but I realized it didn't really work for strongman, because there's so much repetition work in strongman that even though West Side has repetition, it's for the assistance work for the most part. But our main events are repetition work. So, I mean, if you're doing an overhead, you're so many times going to have reps. Deadlift, you're going to have reps. Anyway, so in the strongman, you have to have explosive strength, repetition strength, and maximum strength, as well as functional moving with stuff. So you got to find a way to put them all together, and that was the puzzle. And it just years of trial and error, seeing what worked. It's like, okay, he used a West Side type split, but he did pretty good, but could have done better. What can we do over here? How can we make it better for strong? You know what I mean? And so it just came together that way. Sorry. Beard hair is getting but it came together through figuring out how can I recover while getting everything trained. It's like, well, if we have all explosive, why not take a day to do it lighter? Why not take a day to do some speed? So I just started rotating things in and out of different modes of training. And of course, like I said, learned from West Side, learned from Marius, took a little bit of here, a little bit of there, and just boom, here it is. So it's, for me, it just came that way, just trial and error. Honestly, 10, 15 years of training.
I want to circle back to the progression and adaptation, because I don't want that just to be like a 1-minute segment, in this, because that's huge. Because you can probably, as when you're training with Travis, I mean, you can train your adaptation and work capacity to ridiculous amounts, well in excess of what the sport requires.
Sure.
Right? But that's not progression.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a distinct difference between those two that I don't think a lot of people really understand. Right. And because when I was at Westside, Louis had the big thing of increasing work capacity. And I get that, right? But to what point?
Sure.
Because we can just keep doing this. Like, I can be dragging a sled for fucking 10 hours a week. Is that going to have is it going to lead to any progression?
Right.
At some point, no. Yeah. It's just going to be more adaptation for what?
Right.
And it's different with all sports. It's different with each individual and all those different things, but it is separate. So at what point in your career did you begin to think that way? Because that changes everything at that point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say I was always thinking it, but didn't quite know how to implement what would be like at the beginning. Okay, Travis seems to be progressing, so he loads up a yoke and does this and goes out there, whatever. Then I'll do that, or Jim Glassman over here seems wise, so, follow him. I was just trying, like I said, because it was trial and error. But it's like you said, you can work up to whatever your body will adapt, but are you going? So like, I love training. I could train 3 times a day. Like I could just go but at the end of the day, I'm like, okay, am I doing this just to train? Or am I doing this to actually win? So yeah, you have to make that. And so there's a million factors too with each individual, because if you take someone like Marius, and for the younger guys, this is Marius Pudzianowski, 5-time world's strongest man, now doing MMA, but he was ripped to the bone. But he also had the advantage of, okay, he could go get a massage in the middle of the day. He could go into a cryotherapy, so he could treat it like a job.
Yeah,
he could do it professionally. He could do whatever, and so he was stretching. That's all he did. And so he did have that ability too. So it is a little bit of person specific, but there is going to have to be some trial and error to where you say, okay, I'm going to push it here, and then maybe wait and see. Give it a 2 or 3 weeks before throwing in and saying I'm overtraining. This program isn't right or whatever, and then keep pushing through and see if you progress, rather than just abandoning it altogether.
Well, with the active recovery, I always kind of saw that as it's like a sign, right? Now, outside of a peaking period, 3 or 4 weeks out, where you're going to know the healthiest person always wins, but nobody goes in 100% healthy.
Sure.
Right. That's just the nature of these sports. Where if I had to start using active recovery, it was kind of earlier than that. Then it was kind of like, oh, warning sign, maybe my training's a little fucked up. You know what I'm saying? Because I should be adapting, and recovering from what I'm doing, unless I did something stupid, which happens. They're calculated risks that you make. Or then that comes in, where with the guys that I would see that always had it in, then there's nothing to go to when you're in that peak time and the wear and tear does start to accumulate, because it's already in. You get what I'm saying? It's like, this is like a golden ticket to be able to help.
Right.
But if you have to use that for the normal training, then, and now I'm sure with him, there were layers. Like this is the normal training layer, then here's, the next layer, and we'll kind of avoid that. But the reason I put that out is we've seen that go through phases. Where it gets super popular, then not popular, then super popular. It trends, just with new modalities and so forth. But I don't think people really understand what it's for. They'll just throw it in because they see somebody else is doing it.
Right.
And don't,
Well, to that point, a lot of people in the international athletes, I noticed that those strongmen, they tend to do way, 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 way more active recovery. They're never just resting. Even on their off day, they're doing something, going for a walk. Even Zadrunas would hike up hills or do whatever. And so in America, we have a tendency to just rest. And I think for powerlifting, that may actually be a better route. Like,
I think we're talking two different things, because one, we probably need to define active recovery a little bit more, because the things that you're talking about, just circulation, which is going to help you recover.
Yeah.
Right. Where when it's more of,
are you talking
physiotherapy, all the other kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's a little bit different, but the off days, as you get older, become really kind of detrimental.
Yeah.
Right. Because you're not recovering the same, and you need that circulation.
Right.
And powerlifters the same.
Yeah.
Because probably more so because the conditioning's so bad. that if they just walked for 10 minutes, on their off days, they'd be surprised at how much better they'd recover.
We always think you're going to lose gains. Always.
Yeah.
You're always worried. If I go for this, you're like, if I go for this 10-minute walk, I might lose calories. Or I read somewhere that's cardio that's going to make me go backwards. It doesn't. Anytime I've ever added anything, I always got better. I always felt better. Talk about like work capacity, and like you were saying, all of my lifts would go up. All of my workouts felt better. It never does anything to take away. It only ever adds.
Well, I think it's how people will throw it in.
Sure.
Like some people will throw in, hard trail rucking for 45 minutes when they haven't done anything.
Right. Yeah.
Well, now you got to recover from that.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of just starting kind of light.
Right.
When you start to get a better handle on all this, is that when your placing started to go up? Our strength equipment is made in the USA. It's professional rated. We customize it to whatever your needs are. If it's just logoing to designing a completely brand new piece of equipment. The reason I got into the equipment game to begin with is a lot of the equipment I was looking for example, like a leg press, I couldn't use a wide enough stance to help build my squat out. So a lot of the equipment that we've come up with and that we've put out is built for that reason, because it wasn't on the market or it was built like crap in the first place and didn't have any carryover. So check out our website, elitefts.com, strength equipment, or get a hold of one of our strength equipment specialists who have been selling strength equipment for over a decade, as well as being coaches in the industry. Website, Top Toolbar Strength Equipment, or look for the rectangle on the front page that says Strength Equipment Specialist and click on that to speak to one of our specialists today.
Yeah, I the strongest I ever got was when I realized how to rotate everything. Like when I was before, you're just, because you're kind of winging it, you honestly just sometimes, all right, what do I want to do today? And you literally like, all right, I'm going to do this, whatever. But instead of once I actually started to see, okay, no, be disciplined. Put this here, go with this here. Don't push the weight today. Today is not a heavy day. And especially when my deadlift started to go up, which was, for me, one of the things that took the longest to come up. I was not a deadlifter. I was a squatter, strangely enough. Even though I have long legs, I could squat very well. But my deadlift, but I started to notice my deadlift was going up. And of course, like, you think about what if I could have, had I been doing this the whole time. But it starts to go up. And so, yes, my strength got the strongest when I started to incorporate and mix and match the right way, and started to actually have a progression, and be okay with smaller gains, and be okay with, we would try and throw 50, if we're doing a 900-pound yoke. All right, well, we did a 900, obviously we have to do 1,000 now. Yeah. Why not do 910?
Well, I know why. Yeah, you know why, but I know that's the takeaway.
Yeah. And it's like, that's, it takes a long time, but even if you can do something, doesn't mean you should. Yeah. Right? Like, even if I'm strong enough to do this, save it for the contest. Don't throw it into training and. Anyway, but yes, that having that program, having something set, it keeps you disciplined too. It keeps you, I'm going to follow this, and you're recovering better, and you're starting to see better results. Absolutely.
Now, were you starting to get beat up at that time? Oh, yeah. And that's what created the shift?
Yeah, I injuries, a million different. At a certain point, when you get older, you're going to have injuries no matter what, but they were starting to come in, and I'm like, I gotta figure something out here. Like, I've done this for a long time. It's like, if I don't figure this out, like if I don't stop winging it, like I got to do something else.
Yeah, or you'll be done.
Yeah, it's like it's time to move on or figure this out. So I started to one of the things that people have said when they has like switched up the program, that's one of the main things that they say, they feel better. So they're making more gains, but they feel better too. Because of that reason, strongman just in America tend to just throw, and I say America, it is truly, it's a phenomenon for some reason in our country. Literally just throw as much as possible and go for it, which I get. But pull it back, do the sets, do speed runs, do this, do that. Anyway, it's so absolutely, I'm talking to my younger self right now.
Yeah,
I'm trying.
yeah.
I can't, but I am. That's what I'm really doing right now.
Okay, so to circle back to the progression, would that have been the first cube method for strongman?
Yeah, around it was late 2011. I finally put something together that it seemed good. I sent it to a buddy of mine who's a power lifter, but he's a very smart guy, and I was Tom Emmelander. I don't know if you know Tom, but I said he said that's pretty good. And I went back, trained a little bit, made some adjustments, and then I said, what about this? I sent it to him. I was like, this looks like the perfect rotation. I told him, I said, this would work for powerlifting too. And he goes, yeah, that's the cube method. I was like, what are you talking? I was like, you got to be kidding me. Anyway, so there was, Brandon had already made something on the powerlifting side. We literally came up with a very identical like split or rotation of stuff. I contacted him and said, look, dude, I got the same idea, but for strongman, I didn't have a name for it yet. So I was like, let's just put it out together. He was cool about it. And it's like, yeah, right on. So that was the first iteration of the cube method for strongman. It was the first and still honestly one of the only programs, if you're looking for something, you can have some direction. Like if you try it and it doesn't work for you, go on to something else, but at least you have some kind of direction, right? It
was the first template that I think I've ever seen.
Yeah. It's because people don't, like I said, they just wing it. I mean, they'll either do their own thing or I do this split or that split. Cool. But there's nothing for just somebody who's starting out. Okay, where do I go? That was the first thing. The first strongman template. I mean, if there was something else out there, I don't know about it, but nothing used widely, that I know of. So yeah, I mean, it gave people. It's been really cool because people all over the world have used it and messaged me and had success. So.
Well, from its inception, it was very well received. And there's been iterations, right? Which is, 531, all these things go through the iterations because you conceptualize it, you're using it with some other people, but you really don't know what's going to happen to you throw it, out, because then larger demographics are using it, from beginners to intermediates, and advanced hopefully already have kind of figured the shit out for themselves. So they're going to pull ideas and stuff like that. And then what were some of the earlier iterations that had to be made because it gets weird, right? When you throw in a template out, like, here you go. Because you're kind of building it for one range of demographics.
Sure.
Then all of a sudden you get this feedback and you got to kind of figure out is this just because they just suck in general and just need to train for a while, right? Because they've never touched a weight. You know what I'm talking about. And so you can't bend a template to that. There's other things to be able for that. And at the other end, there's the criticism from the advanced people. And it's like, dude, you're going to auto-regulate everything you do anyhow, so that doesn't really make any difference. So you got to filter out. You know what I'm saying? You filter out the noise and then focus on what really needs to be iterated. Yeah. What were some of the first things?
Well, so the first thing I noticed, because like you said, got a much bigger sample size for first thing I noticed was, so I had originally put a max effort day, similar to like a Westside approach. I changed the max effort day to a heavier day. People in strongman, the progression isn't there. I know, like probably for geared powerlifting, it really works well, stuff like that. But for strongman, a little bit on the heavier side as opposed to, 3s, 4s, and doubles as opposed to just a max effort.
What happens? Yeah, this is kind of universal. What happens with that is people actually just are missing shit all the time.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
that's not how.
That's not a good prayer.
No, in any strength sport, that's not how it's ever been applied. It's like you work up to the point where you're like, I probably can't do another one.
Right.
But when it's thrown out to the masses, it's you get the emails of, I missed 13 times.
Yeah. And that's kind of the weird thing too, is like people might message me and be like worried. They're like, I did 2 sets of tricep extensions instead of 1 or 3. And it's like, it's okay. It's all right. Mm-hmm. Like people think they have to follow it to a T. And it's like, just as long as you're following the basic idea of the program, then you cater it to your circumstances, your gym, yourself. But it's okay. But that's one of the things that I changed. There also seemed to be a lot of people that had they preferred 2 upper body sessions, like 2 pressing days a week. And so in some iterations, I incorporate, if you're one of those guys that gets better with 2 overhead days, I added a second overhead day. And all of this I've tried myself, to make sure it works. And so I went through and then some other people, they're like, okay, I can't do the 4-day split where it's like squats, overhead, deadlift day, and then event day on Saturday. So I just did like a 3-day split, somebody just to accommodate different things. And then I've done peaking. So like cube method for prime is just like a peaking. Let's say a contest is 12 weeks out. Here's how I would go about actually like not just following the program, but peak for that contest. So I would put like sample programs. Like here's 4 different competitions that might show up. Here's exactly how I would peak for those. Different things like that. I just put some of my favorite assistance work and try to iterate to people. You can, on the assistance work, you can vary this. You can do whatever you want. Yeah. But this is what I found helps me. And it works for me. And I have the access to that equipment and stuff like that. And so and then Cube Cyborg, right? So I went out, I have a buddy. For a long time, I traveled with a public speaking group. It was like a team. It was called Team Impact. You probably heard of the Power Team back in the day. So it was the exact same thing, just a different name. So we would travel around, break bricks, bend bars, do all this stuff. Well, one of the guys is Ron Waterman. He was a UFC fighter. He's a fireman. He's a bad dude, right? And he's famous for his training program. So he took me one time through his leg work. It's one of those things that probably may or may not, you could do it, whether or not the progression is going to be there. But I just went through it because you have to. Like he like forces you to go through it, right? So I was like, It's like, okay, there could be some benefit to this because, you can get to a strongman contest if your training was that hard, you show up here, even though, because it wasn't heavy. Necessarily, it was brutal. Like he did these tube lunges where you gotta pretend you're in a tube so you can't come up any higher. You're like squatting down and doing these lunges,
like duck walks in a way.
Duck walks, like across a 400-meter track, and you can't stop. I mean, stuff like that. And that's after you've done all this crazy stuff. So anyway, I just started to incorporate that, like you said, building the work capacity. This is for anybody who, like if they're conditioning or they need some kind of mental breakthrough. So I incorporated some of that into there. But it is, like you said, you come out with a first one and then you get the feedback. And so these are the things that some people want a peaking. Some people want 2 times overhead. Some people want 3 days a week. Some people want different things. And so I just give people different options,
Did you find that women do better with 2 times overhead? The reason I ask is usually in powerlifting, you'll find the women need the bench press more frequently than the men.
Interesting.
And it's just, I don't know why. It just seems to be a reoccurring theme that I'm wondering if that surfaces in strongman as well.
It might be. That's interesting. Now you got me wanting to go back and check. That could have been. That's very curious. I'll have to go back and look.
Well, the only reason I think this might be the case is because total load's going to be lower.
Okay.
You know, whereas on the squat and the deadlift, it's I don't want to say more normalized, but it's more load to be able to recover from.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just more of a curious type of question. So with that, how important is their access to the equipment? Because that's become a big thing over the past 5 years.
Well, and funny enough, there are more gyms that have strongman equipment. Like I said, when I started, I was like looking for a welder to try and make something up, or I was going to Home Depot to try and make some farmers. But you know, it is important if you're a strongman. You're going to have to, if you want to be good, you're going to have to get the equipment. If you don't, there actually is a book on starting strongman, which is where all of my books are at as well, on startingstrongman.com. But Cale Beck at Starting Strongman has a book, how to train strongman in a regular gym. So like, if you don't have it, if there's just you don't have access, you're not going to have access for whatever reason, there are things you can do. You know what I mean? That can try to, so you can incorporate, like, let's say you had the Q method for strongman, and then you had how to train strong. You could find a way to make that work.
Yeah. But, well, I think to circle back to your point, no matter what sport you're going to play, if you're a tennis player and you want to play tennis, at some point you're going to have to get a racket and get in the court. Right. I mean, it's part of the sport.
It's exactly.
And a lot of times, even with competitive strongmen, you're going to find yourself in positions to where you're not going to have access for a couple of weeks because of vacation or whatever it is. And you make do to be able to keep the movement patterns and the conditioning the same. But it's by no means a way to peak for an event.
Right, yeah. And like we were talking about before we started, I had, my first 2 to 3 competitions, I didn't have any access to any of the equipment. It's like, okay, as a young guy, I had like push press 225 on a bar. I don't know, like I had done like 12 or 13 reps or something. I was feeling good about myself. Then I was like, okay, I'm going to destroy this log. It's the same weight. The first time I pressed the log, and I think I got it like 2 or 3 hard reps. From 12 to 13, that's the difference between the equipment and not.
Yeah.
It's like you have to touch it. There is no other option. I mean, at least if you can't, you have to try to mimic it somehow.
Yeah.
There's no real way to mimic a tire flip, right? There's no good way to mimic a truck pull or a single finger. I mean, the first time I did a truck pull, I was terrible. The strength might have been there, but I had no idea how to do it. There's a technique to all of it. So anyway, it is important. And so at all costs, I tell strongmen, get equipment at all costs. Whatever, it doesn't matter if you have to learn how to weld, you get equipment.
Well, it's what I tell them is you guys were figuring it out without really any access at all. Right. To where when I hear price, being the issue.
Yeah.
And there's many suppliers that have this stuff. And it's like, well, I can't afford all that stuff. I was like, you do understand that these guys are like making their own shit from Home Depot and 100%. Scrap yards with this shit was not always available.
Yeah.
Now it is available, which is great, right? Because you can purchase it if you want. But if that's a shitty excuse, I guess is where I'm going with all this.
It is. My first farmer's walk that I made, right? So Travis had all the equipment. It was welded. It was perfect, right? It was amazing stuff. But the first at home, I made a farmer's walk. I literally went to Home Depot, got some PVC pipe, 6-inch PVC pipe, filled it with concrete. I mean, this is like $5. It's $10, whatever it was. Filled it with concrete. Place some galvanized pipe through that, some conduit. Through the concrete so I could load weights on. I mean, I did whatever. It didn't, to me, it was great too. Like I was like, this is awesome. Like I got farmers walk. Anytime I drive by a junkyard, I'm like, I still get excited.
You're like,
that could be equipment right there, And a good part of me likes that rusty equipment. Like I think a true strongman has a certain amount of likes rusty old world stuff. That's kind of like I was saying before. I kind of miss that part of strongman, like the rusty stuff, battling it out in other countries. You know, it's missing a little bit of that. I'm not gonna rag on World's Strongest Man, but I just wish they'd go back to. I like the old style a little bit.
I would be in the same camp that you are, but I try to look at different perspectives. And the other perspective is the people coming up now that are 13, 14, aspiring to be that. They don't see that. They just see what they see now. Right. So they're not going to miss, it's like it's like a weird thing, right? Like
it is.
Kids growing up today don't know what it's like to not have an iPad or a cell phone. Right. So they're not going to know any different, where we look back and like, man, it was great when nobody had phones. Yeah. They're not going to think that because they've always had it. So it's a weird thing when you were in the all in prime type of phase. There's different types of people that enter your atmosphere. I call them realists and enablers. Right. You try to position yourself around more of the enablers because they're going to enable all the behavior that you're doing. But then the realists on the other side are the ones that are like, why are you doing this shit? Long term, On your deathbed, you're not going to remember any of this crap. The only thing you're going to remember is all this, other stuff. And there's truth on both sides. But on that one side of you're not going to remember it, later on, I call bullshit, because anybody that I've known that was all into this thing for decades always have memories that I'm sure, if you're on your deathbed in the hospital for 2 days dying, you're going to recall.
Oh, 100%.
A lot of those things, as well as the other things that are important. But the realists that act like those aren't important, obviously have never experienced anything like that. Yeah. What are some of those moments that you're going to remember forever through your career?
Yeah, I mean, I always, I have gone to like, the things I remember are, honestly, is the travel. To be honest, obviously there's like moments in the competition I'll always remember, like that first Mohegan Sun. I loaded all the pro guys were I couldn't load this final stone, and I was able to load it pretty easily, and I jumped on the platform, like did a plyo jump straight on the platform, and there's 10,000 people, like stuff like that is because that's when I was like, I can do this. Like, I'm like, I always knew, I believed in myself, but it's undeniable proof, like I'm here. Like, and so I'll remember that. But I remember when you're a pro, at least it used to be. I don't know that the guys now are traveling like that. But it was always when I was in some other country, I would always be like, I need to try to soak this in as much as possible. Some of the things I've got to see, like we would travel into this like hidden city in the mountains of Tibet, where it took like 10 hours to get there on a bus ride that we went over this death mountain with the driver laughing at us,
Now, part of that had to suck, man. You're over 300 pounds and it's hot as fucking a bus bouncing.
Yeah. But but
you don't remember that.
You've got Robert Oberst over here, Mike Burke over here. So we're all scared, but we're laughing at it too. At the end of the day, we're like, we went through it together. So there is a huge camaraderie in the sport of strongman that I've heard from people who've done other strength sports. It's not quite the same. Yeah. People are a little more pissed off at you, but in strongman, because you travel together,
I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah, like we're hanging out constantly. We're just become brothers. I mean, we're whether that's Mike Burke, Stan Efferding, Oberst, whoever, even Kale went to China with us. Travis. It's that might be some of the stuff I remember the most. But I mean, like, things like you go to China, and the first time I went there's a guy in the bathroom, he's like demanding money, like a tip. And I'm like, what? Oh, okay. I'm like, here, I didn't know the exchange rate, so I paid $50 to go to the bathroom, to take a dump. It's like, he's like, here, and then I come out, and Jesse Morundi's like, that guy doesn't work here, right? Oh, I know, right. And then I just kind of walk off, stuff like that. It's just like, you can't. as annoying as that is, you know, you can't. It turns into a good memory.
Yeah.
As bad as it is, but I honestly remember the travel of going to. I think all the major contests are here in the U.S., but before it was spread out. It was all over the place, and so. One week I'm in Poland, the next week I'm in Ukraine or Russia or Denmark or wherever. Somebody, you know, you get a phone call. Hey, you know, the first time I had ever, like I said, deadlift when I was young, I pulled like 700 for the first time. Travis calls me up. Hey, you want to go to Ukraine? Sure. When? It's like tomorrow. I'm like, oh shit. Cool. I just did a deadlift workout. Let's do it. We hop on a plane, go to Ukraine and compete. World's Strongest Nation. You know, stuff like that. And it's those are the things you're gonna remember even more than the contests themselves. You know, stuff like that. It's weird because you go to those contests and like you'll see things and you'll come back and tell people and they're just like, you're lying. Okay, I don't know what to tell you, man. Marius did have a plate full of donuts. Like that was his breakfast, you know. He did have in his room, he did have Cokes lined up. He was the most ripped guy, but he did eat sugar all day long. Like nothing else. And they're like, nah, he didn't really eat that. That was it. He did. I don't know what to tell you. I watched it, you know. Stuff like that. It's just, it's honestly, like when I was younger, I was like, yeah, I could be here next year or the next year, but soak it in, you know. Mm-hmm. This is something else. This is hopefully younger guys are still traveling. There's a lot of contests that people don't hear about, so they only know World's Strongest Man or what's maybe the Shaw contest now or something. But before there was a lot of smaller contests, and so so anyway, that's like all those adventures I wrote about, Adventures of a Pro Strongman. Kind of telling all those stories of my honestly probably for me more cathartic than anything else, like just to go back. It's like, all right, I'm done. I'm gonna write all these stories. Here it is, Adventures of a Pro. I don't know how much other people care about it, but it's like, you know, for me it was that's what, you know, that was probably the thing that I enjoy the most.
What would these guys say the craziest thing that you ever did was?
Strength wise or
just traveling wise? Say I'm sitting down with Robert.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's the craziest thing?
Craziest thing? I don't know.
Stupidest, craziest.
Yeah. I don't I'm always the guy in flip flops. I mean, I don't know. I fell down the stairs in China. We went to this river and we were walking around. It was kind of wet. I refuse to wear shoes if I don't have to, right? Unless I'm competing. And so I slid down this flight of stairs and like tumbled down in front of like 50 people. But, you know, I don't know. I'm not trying to, I can't. I mean, one time we traveled to this ancient, we were in the middle of a bus ride through China, the middle of China. And, this guy just challenges me to a beer drinking contest. I don't really drink that much, but it was like, all right, who can down this in the middle of the restaurant? It's like, who can down this beer the fastest? I was like, just do it, man. Just go for it. Like, you're here, you're in China. So anyway, I downed this beer and beat him and flex for the whole, you know, restaurant and stuff like that. It's those little things that I don't know that anyone would say I did anything crazy. I'm trying to think of something crazy. I don't know that anyone would, I don't know, but probably just between paying for a dump and $50 because I didn't understand the exchange rate, stuff like that. But yeah, it's just a lot of stories, man.
When did you know it was time to get out?
I had worked with the people in Scotland. I literally work with the government of Scotland to be able to carry the Denny stones across the bridge. So my grip is my strength, right? So I was like, okay, I just set the record on the Denny Stone hold at the Rogue record breakers, but now I want to go to actually to Scotland. I could see myself. Nobody has ever actually carried these things across the bridge. You know, I think Shaw broke the record on distance, but nobody has carried them across. In order to do it, I had worked with the government of Scotland to shut down this bridge for the day. I said I had to pay them all this amount. I had trained for it. I was going to go over there. I could see it in my head, in my mind. Like before I ever do anything, I go over it in my head, right? I'm like, I see it ahead of time before I do it. And I tore the fascia on the bottom of my foot in training. And I was like, that ended the whole thing. And I was like, it kept happening over and over and over. I was getting stronger than I had ever been. Especially the more I followed the program and was disciplined. But it's like, okay, doesn't matter if I train, get as strong as I can. I keep doing these, 12, 24-week training cycles and then getting injured. It's like I cannot. I have sponsors. I have shout out to Canix.com. Chris Davidson, all these guys that are believing in me, sponsoring me, and I can't keep doing this. I can't keep getting injured. And so I was like, it was at that moment that I tore the bottom of my foot. I literally, man, I no joke, I wanted to cry. I was like, because I finally hit you. It's like, it's all right. I have to, because like in the past, I had tried to quit. Not quit isn't a good word.
No, I get it.
Retire, whatever. Say I'm done. But it really hit me like there's no other option. Like, sure, maybe you build back up, get strong, and then you get injured again. I kept tearing biceps. I kept tearing at Texas. We held Texas Strongest Man. I held that contest. They said, if you win, talking to the people at World's Strongest Man, you are going back to World's Strongest Man. Ran the contest, had people help set it up. As I'm carrying a chain that I had done 1,000,000 times in training, my left bicep is just tearing. And as it's tearing, I'm so pissed. I keep grabbing the chain and it keeps tearing. I keep hearing it tear. You can physically, audibly hear it. And I just couldn't even finish the contest. So I was just like, I went and sat down and I was just like, how many times am I going to do this? And so I was like, all right, it's time. Let's shut it down. You always think, as you always think one more. All I need is that one good training cycle. And I'm going to actually, Logan, one of the guys who had on your podcast recently, I remember he was young and he came to me because he had just tore some muscle. This was a couple years back. And he was like, give me some wisdom here, man. Should I go do this contest or not? I said, you just tore your muscle. I was like, no, don't do it. And he goes, all right, thanks, man. And then he goes and does the contest.
Yeah.
It's like, I knew he would, right? Of course he would. I would have when I was his age. It doesn't matter. And so that's just that's the mentality. That's the right mentality.
Yeah.
But it's you can only do that so many times. And so.
So how did you navigate the following couple years after that? Because that's your life.
Yeah.
It's your identity, right? And now it's still going to be part of your life. That's the weird part.
It is, yeah.
Right? Is you kind of want to just get the hell away from it.
Right.
To have, it's like the ex-girlfriend that you just need to get the fuck away from, but you can't.
Yeah.
Right?
Know all about that too.
Yeah, because you have a kid or some shit like that. You can't.
Yeah.
And it's a weird thing to navigate.
It is. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when I told people, the first question you asked is actually a very common. I heard through the grapevine, people how do you go from strongman to making these? And people don't get it because, like you said, when you do a strength sport, you're expected to always do it, always be in that world. But if I hadn't have started making Sword of Olympius and dove headfirst into that, even more so maybe than strongman, I would have found my way back. So you almost have to find something else that you're at least close to passionate the same about. I'm actually equally, if not more passionate about it, but so I just was like, that kept my mind off it, like walking in here to your gym. I have to I might have to get out of here. Like, I see this stuff and I'm like, I want to start training. It's like you said, it's always going to be in there, but I'm obsessed now with film. I use the same principles when I was younger. Okay. Maybe I didn't, but eventually I got there, right? I wasn't when I was younger. It's the same way with filmmaking. It's work your way up, get better, make sort of Lentius, make new episodes, get better, make another episode, get better at that episode until it's, where it needs to be. And so you just got to dive head first into something else.
Well, here's a question I want you to really think about with the strongman. Let's just say all in, right? Somebody's all in is going to be different than somebody else's, but I kind of know what frame we were in for 20 years. I mean, it's everything that you do is based upon that. It's a whole different level of all in than other people would consider.
Yes, sir.
And so when you look at this next project or this next chapter, that's required, but there's also this other part of your brain that really knows what that is.
Yep.
And it's like, do I really, you know what I'm saying? Like, do you really want to go that deep all in? Because there's a lot of negatives that's associated with that as well. So there can be a hesitancy because you already have experienced it before it at an extreme level. Yeah. Where with the next one, are you trying to balance that, I guess?
It's funny you ask that. I mean, it's the same thing as like when you're younger, you don't balance, you just go all out. Yeah. I'm going all, there is no balance. But part of that is for me, okay, it's an indie low budget thing. So I can't hire 1 million people to do all these things. I have to do them myself. And so if I don't, it's not going to get done. So I had spent plenty of nights up without any sleep, making stuff so that when everyone shows up, I got 50 people showing up to film. I have to be ready. Mm-hmm. I have to, believe it or not, I'm making costumes. I'm doing whatever. And so there's no balance at all. It completely has consumed me to the point that I don't even, I couldn't tell you who won I probably shouldn't even say that on this podcast.
Yeah.
Well, probably I don't even, it's,
so it's shifting all of that.
It is.
Into,
yeah. And it's like you said,
and what is it right now? Is it the production or what? Because it's a big scope.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you have actor, producer, you have all these different components to that. That's kind of like saying you're a strength athlete that power lifts, does strongman, does bodybuilding and all that. Where's the main focus?
Well, so before, right. So I had to write it and then you do pre-production. So which is the making, getting everyone together, scheduling and finding the location, making the costumes, getting everything ready. And then you film it, and that's production. And then there's post-production. You edit it, you do all that, you put it out, which ours is on YouTube. Everyone can go to YouTube and watch the episodes, sort of Olympius. But for me right now, the place I'm in is, okay, those episodes are out. So I got through that, and I've never had more issues. Never had to battle, even in strongman, never had to battle as hard to get stuff out. There was a problem at every single turn, but it got out. It's out, right? Most filmmakers don't even make it past the writing stage, much less, actually publish their movie or show or get it out. Ours is out. So now I'm at the part of I want to make a season finale. So we have 4 episodes. So I have to start the process all over again. I have to finish writing the episode and then get right back into production. It's the same thing, but it's the same way I love throwing up and bleeding and doing all that stuff for strongman. Even though I love it, there's not a second where I'm working on this, losing sleep or anything, where I'm like, I'm tired of this or I hate this or whatever. I love it. So I got all that work ahead of me again, and I always will. But eventually, hopefully, because this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. But eventually, hopefully, I'll be able to hire more people to do. It's kind of a rite of passage, so I'm not mad about it. Like I had my hand in everything.
Yeah.
So like when you see sort of Olympias, there's not a frame that I didn't make happen, right? There's not a single. I picked the shot list even. Like I picked the actors. I cast the whole thing, everything. So there's not a frame that's not me. But now it's time to eventually. Like I want to be able to hire those people, but they're also not. I live really far south in Houston, out in the kind of like in the country, and there's no freaking costume makers out there. You know what I mean? So like, who am I even gonna get? But eventually, it's already here. I can already see it. But I have a studio in the country where people come and help with that kind of thing. But even though there are a lot of people who don't understand it in the strength world, they're also equally have been like gotten a lot of help from the strength world. So a lot of the in the episodes, a lot of the guys are powerlifters or strongmen that are in it have come and helped out, and so that's kind of a cool thing to have those guys have access to guys who already look like warriors or giants, and so that's been cool.
What were some of the lessons from strongman that you've seen have correspondence to what you're doing now?
Oh man, everything. It's interesting, even putting on the competition. So I've ran, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 strongman competitions. And I remember somebody in filmmaking saying, oh, it's a whole different game. They're actually very similar. If I hadn't have put on those strongman competitions, I wouldn't know how to do sort of Olympias. So like with the strongman competition, you have to find a location. You have to send out, pick the events, get those made. If you don't have the equipment or specialty piece, get the shirts made, get the competitors. It's just very similar. It's all very similar stuff. So I've learned definitely from those lessons. But like we said, starting from the bottom, because I made it somewhat to the top of strongman, so at least like the world championships. I never had a great world's strongest man run. I wasn't a great world strong at the actual contest, but it's kind of like I had a dream that I couldn't figure this out for a minute. I climbed the Statue of Liberty, made it to the top of the Statue of Liberty, and jumped off into the water, and like something came up though, so I was drowning and something came up to save me. So it's literally like it's telling me I made it from strongman. At least this is what I'm going to say. But I made it to the top of one thing, and now I'm jumping off. I'm having to start all the way again at the bottom of something else. And let's do it. Fine.
No, but you expect the adversity. You expect the challenges.
Right.
As with strongman, you had to find a crew, so you had to start by yourself.
Yep.
Then eventually, the more work that you put in,
exactly,
the crew kind of manifests itself in a way.
Sure.
I'm not a big believer in that kind of shit, but
no, it does.
But it does.
100%.
Right? As long as you're putting in that work and kind of putting it through there.
Yeah.
So right now you're in the writing process of the finale. There's what is it, 4 episodes
right now
that's out there now?
Yeah. We had made a pilot, and then I was like, after we made these other 3, there's such a huge learning curve that you learn just from one episode to the next. You're going to be better, right? And so 2 years had gone by before I was able to make the next 3. So we kind of tweaked our pilot, because there's something I'm like, okay, if all these people are going to funnel in to watch these 3 episodes, they're going to want to watch the first episode.
Yeah.
So let's tweak that, make it a little bit better if we can. And then there's three episodes that have gotten much better. It's a low budget indie thing. So it's not, Game of Thrones quality, but it's as good as it can. We have the best fight scenes of an indie production. We have the best sets, the best acting, the best story. I mean, it's really, for what it is very good, but we're going to get better. And it's so like you said, it's been cool because I have gotten in kind of entrenched in the Dallas and Houston film world by virtue of making it. Had I not made it, it would be much tougher to kind of get into those worlds. But yes, I'm in the writing process right now of finishing that finale, and then hopefully we start filming in the fall.
So how are you managing the skill acquisition, right? Because in Strongman, you have all these different events, all these different skills.
Yeah.
And now with what you're doing, there's skill acquisition that across the board for all this, the editing, the writing, the acting, all those things, require that skill development to where there's the old way that you were doing in Strongman, like just fuck it, find out, I'm going to do it.
Yep.
And then as you learned, as you progressed, it's better to learn from other people's mistakes and kind of do that. So are you in the fuck it, find out phase with all these, or are you, and maybe you have to be just because of budget and so forth.
Yeah.
But where it needs to go because you saw that same trajectory in Strongman where you couldn't have stayed the fuck it, find out and made it to where you went.
I think that's probably the perfect analogy. I think I am at the fucking find out stage, and like Strongman though, okay, I did. Okay, how I watched them race home to watch the VHS tapes, and I'm like even subconsciously learning technique just watching this. It's a similar thing in that I always loved watching making of movies and stuff, like how the process behind the scenes. So I learned a little bit. So I kind of knew some of what I needed to do just by virtue of watching all that. But, nothing's going to prepare you for actually doing it. So I am figuring things out as I go, and there's no other option. But here's what I will say. There's a saying, there's no prodigies in filmmaking. That's the saying, right? Everybody's first project is usually bad. That's across the board. There's only been one or two people. George Lucas was one of them. When he entered film school, his first project was incredible. And Orson Welles, okay? He made the greatest movie of all time on his first attempt of making a movie, or what for a long time, Citizen Kane, what people thought was considered to be the great one of the movies. But other than that, everyone's stuff is bad the first time around. But I wouldn't say ours is bad. I think ours is good, and it's getting much better. So I think there's promise there, like the same way, like when I competed at Strongman and I felt like, okay, I can do this. It's like when it's out, it's like, all right, we could do this, like, yes, there are things that need to be it's what is different about Strongman is that, okay, you compete, and how you compete is the results, right? But it's weird when you put something creative out because you just put it out and then just wait.
Yeah.
Like, what do people think about this? I have no clue. And so like if you don't hear back, you assume people hate it. If you do hear back, you're going to analyze every single word. Well, he didn't say it was good.
Yeah.
He said it was okay, it came together, but he didn't say. Anyway, you're going to
but you're going to have to analyze that based upon who the person really is, because like the cube method,
right?
There's going to be the haters just because they're haters.
Yeah.
So you got, as we were talking about earlier, when you're trying to change the program, you got to filter out the absolute beat. So you got to filter that. But the question that I really wonder is, in the strength sports community and even subculture of that being the strongman, it's a tight knit community, and because it's small.
Yeah. And
the filmmaking community, it's a giant community.
Yeah.
And it's very competitive and it's very cutthroat. Where now indie may be different.
Yeah.
Are you finding, because and it could be the monetization too. On one, there's the potential to actually really, really monetize. On the other one, you really don't.
Right.
But when money becomes a factor, snakes come out really, really fast.
Yeah. To
where you don't know who to believe, who not to believe, and all this other stuff. Are you finding the community to be similar in any way with?
Yeah, it's very, very similar. So like the filmmaking community is huge, but it's not only in like big markets, right? So like if you're in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, that's where Ryan is, Ryan Rhodes. If you're in LA, of course it's huge out there in New York. But when you come to like Texas, it's starting to blow up, but it hasn't been that big. So it is a little bit more like that niche, like the like Strongman used to be. It's kind of like starting with, you know, everyone wants to help everyone out.
Okay, so you're seeing that with the indie thing.
Pretty much. I mean, people are tired of working for free. So you know, like people in Houston, it was like, I got this project where you know, come on and just do it. I can't pay you. So I try to pay everybody who steps on. At least now, in my first episode, it was like half and half. I was able to put, but then like now, you know, I try to pay everyone who comes on, who steps on my set or has a hand in it. But so yeah, it's very tight knit for now, and like I think it's about to blow up in Texas. I think it's gonna get a lot bigger, but I've only felt welcome, you know.
So how's the budgeting process, or I should say the marketing process? How do you monetize it?
Yeah, so you monetize it there's multiple different avenues, and we've gone a different route from what most people would do because it's a bigger vision, right? So most people, they make a movie or a show, and then they try to sell it. It's called, you know, distribution. You're like, okay, I'm going to get this to Netflix, or I'm going to get a distribution company to put this out on this many theaters, whatever. What I want to do is build a world so that whoever the fantasy people who like fantasy, they just get involved in the world, right? And just build that world. And so you just keep putting out better product. And so I'm writing the novel as well. And so when the novel comes out, that's part of it. When you put out merchandise, so we have a website with some merchandise you can help out on there. You know, there's you can eventually monetize the channel. You can eventually. The goal is to make it standalone. I honestly, like, I don't want to necessarily take it to like a studio or something and say like, here, this is. I want to have creative control, but also, I mean, obviously it depends on what they were, you know, but what they offered. But, you know, that's the ultimate goal, is to be able to make it by itself through novels, merchandise, whatever, just building the world. You know, I just want people to get involved, like the world, you know, whether it's like something like Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter, or, you know, and see that where we're at right now, it's not necessarily where we're going to be 5-10 years. Like, it's going to keep on getting better, especially as I learn and as it keeps growing and as people put, you know, stuff into it. And so, yeah, that's pretty much, it's a long game, you know, it's not a short game. And most people are only willing to do the short game, or they're like, move on to the next thing. But sort of Olympias, I wanted to stay for forever, you know?
Yeah.
And so I do have some other side projects, like I'm getting better at acting, taking acting classes, which is uncomfortable. It's not something I like to do, but you got to do it, right? Just like cardio or stretching isn't comfortable. It's a similar thing. You just have to do it. You have to get better.
I wonder with the acting classes, because you've public speaking, you were doing those power events for a long period of time. So you have comfort being in front of crowds.
Yeah.
And the reason why I asked this is I was doing seminars and stuff like that. And then I did some acting classes, Toastmasters and shit like that, to be able to help that. And there were some things that were like stupid, right?
Yeah.
But there are other things that helped.
Sure.
You know, what were some things from when you first started taking that hit you like, man, I wish I'd known this when I was doing those seminars, events, and stuff like that?
I would say it's a little bit different when you're doing like when you're doing public speaking, there's just a mass of people, right?
Yeah.
You almost are like, it doesn't register the same as being that close to someone, you know? It's like, it's easier.
It is, because you're distant.
You're distant. I'm not actually a super sociable guy. People are like, you're a public speaker. You can speak in front of this many people. It's like, it's not the same, you know? Like, put me in a party or something with 20 people and I'm going to shut down. Like, I'm going to go to a corner and find, you know, the one person maybe that I can relate to or something. But, and so it's, it's a different kind of a vibe. It's just honestly completely different. Like in acting class, sitting there and having somebody, hold on, I would do it completely different way. You're like, okay, you have to like swallow. Be like, all right, fine, okay, I'll do it a different way. And just be like, take that direction and go with it. Just like with lifting, if somebody tells you, you're not doing that correctly, okay. All right, okay, I'll do it differently then. And but it's all subjective too, and so like we were talking about this, everyone has their different processes, and so I don't whatever gets the job done, right?
Yeah. There were things for me that kind of resonated, like tonality, and pauses.
Sure.
Which as you're doing these events, you're not thinking about that. You're just telling people how to fucking train.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But then it was like, oh, but if I pause here, that will reinforce that point more. Yeah. Never thought about that. Yeah. Things.
That's true.
And that's kind of what they start in the acting side. They'll stop you. Right. Like, say it like this. And it's like, oh, that's weird. Yeah. But then you hear it and you watch it back and you're like, wow, that was more impactful.
Yeah, it's better. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it is. And there are little things like that. Honestly, as far as the acting goes, that's something I'm new to. Like, okay, so for sort of Olentius, because I had to do so many other jobs, I didn't write a whole bunch of my acting into it. Like, there's acting, but I've had to, now that I had to focus on the show, like making the show, as opposed to just the acting. So now I'm really getting into it because I did I recently did an audition for like God of War, right? So there's Kratos is in the game. So like I'm the right side. People are like, this bodybuilder is perfect. Kratos. I was like, nah, he's a short, big bodybuilder. It's not great. So Kratos, if he's tall. Yeah, I'm 6'5". I'm the exact right height. He has a deep voice. I have a deep voice. His build is the exact same as mine. Anyway, so I'm going for it. We did an audition, and that I kind of had to tweak some of those things. Like you said, it's the pauses, way more impactful and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a whole new game. So starting at the bottom and working my way up, but I will. Like there's, it's going to happen one way or another. It's just a matter of, putting in the work, just like Strongman. Yeah. And so, but it's been fun, man. I love it. I love it with every ounce of me, man.
So how is your training now? Because all that time's going into that. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's, and obviously you're still training, so what's your training look like at this? So
when I'm making it, I'm not training at all because there's no way. It's impossible. There's no time. And actually when I retired from Strongman, I kind of enjoyed not training for a while. It's okay. I was like, all right, you done it now, just back off for a while. And so when I was competing, I got my top weight was 320. And so then when I started filming sort of Olentius, I was dropped to 275, and then filming was I lost another 30 pounds. But in order to audition for like Kratos, I had to put on a little bit more weight. So right now I'm like 265, 271. But it's more of a bodybuilding style.
Yeah, because it's a look thing.
It's a look thing as opposed to just doing deadlifts and all that. I don't, there's no reason for me to at the moment be doing that, but it's mostly a bodybuilding, and it feels kind of good, to go in there and just pump some blood and get some,
Well, it also keeps you away from doing the things that
right,
what you used to do, weight wise.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the advice I have with the people that are going through the post identity crisis. Is just don't lift any movement that you're going to suck at when you compare it to others.
Yeah.
Make new shit up. You don't know if it's good or bad.
True.
And if it's more of the hypertrophy based bodybuilding stuff, load really doesn't matter. Yeah. It's just putting the muscle back on.
Well, and speaking of, I've had to like make myself not It doesn't matter what it is. It could be freaking lateral raises. I'm like, it's okay to go lighter. I'm like,
Yeah.
I want to grab as much weight as I can. That's just naturally. And it's like, it doesn't matter right now. You can go half the weight of what you usually do. It doesn't matter. And so, yeah, 100%.
Well, I would think that would be more important for you now because injury is going to set everything back.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, if I get injured
In a big way.
Yeah, no, I can't. I can't tear a freaking bicep right now. I can't do any of that. I have a pec or something. I have to stay healthy. And what I'm going to start incorporating more of is the cardio. I'm gonna, like I said, I should have been doing that already during the strongman career. And any strongman out there should be doing cardio. I promise you'll feel better. You will recover. You won't lose strength. But I'm going to start incorporating that more, just for health. And so, yeah, it's a different world, but it's fun to before, right? And you know what I'm talking about. You go into the gym, you got to lay out on the foam roller. You got to do all this. You got to warm up properly, stretch, put on your knee sleeves or elbow sleeve or whatever. It's like, now I can just walk in and just start working out. God, that is fun. It really is. I'm like, I can go into it. It doesn't matter if there's just machines. I can just walk into a gym and do some lat pull downs or something. It's like, I enjoy this. It's a whole different world. But there's always, if I have to, the other day I did put some weight on just to see if I still could.
Yeah.
And of course, I still got it. So if I have to, just like Kratos, right? If he has to, he can still kill somebody, right?
Yeah.
He can still pull that up. But anyway, so yeah, it's more fun training, that's for sure. I definitely am having more fun with it, but it's more bodybuilding stuff, yeah.
Were there any topics you wanted to go over I didn't bring up?
Well, I mean, here's what I'm going to say. And I don't know why I felt like I needed to say this, but if you're a power lifter, if you're a football player, and I don't know why football players aren't training strongman, and I don't know why. This is completely separate from what we were just talking about. I don't know why there aren't more powerlifters, but more strongman or football players doing strongman training or wrestler or whatever. Why are strength coaches in today's world with how much we know about strongman? Why are strength coaches, if you want to get as strong as you can be, if you're even a power lifter, throw in one strongman day and see if your lifts don't go up. If you train farmers walk twice a month, see how much your deadlift goes up. See how much your back strength and your grip strength. I mean, lift stones. It doesn't matter. You're going to see it. But take football, for instance. And again, this is side note. This is nothing what we were talking about. If you're a football player, if you give me two teams that are all things equal, they're the same speed and everything, and one of them trains strongman and one of them don't, this team that trains strongman is going to run over this team. I don't know why. Maybe they don't know how. Maybe the equipment they feel like it's harder to get, but in today's world, it's not. Maybe they only know Olympic lifts. I don't know. Why are these strength and conditioning coaches? If you have a running back that's used to carrying 500 pounds on his back, it's going to be very difficult to bring him down. If you have a defensive player who's used to lifting stones or sandbags, who can they not tackle? I mean, an offensive lineman that has flipped heavy tires. To me, it doesn't I don't know why. So anyway, if you're a power lifter out there, if you're a football player, if you're a wrestler and you want to get better, throw in a little bit of strongman. I'm not here saying one is stronger than the other. That's not my point. I'm just saying throw it in and see how much better you get. I just can't imagine. I would take any football team if they were a high school team. They would go to state if they train strongman, really train strong once or twice a month. It baffles my mind that it's not more common. Even for powerlifters, do some strongman training. It's just your bench press will even go up from doing more overhead. Your grip, you'll never lose another deadlift again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well, I would see the anaerobic endurance, the ability to strain,
yeah,
it would go up. The core strength,
sure,
you know, the bracing,
yeah,
and grip would all go up.
It would
as long as
all-
they're not stupid,
yeah,
you know, and make sure that they are intentional on how they're moving,
right,
right?
Yeah.
And it still isn't that complicated. So, I get what you're saying, but my caution would be don't max out
sure,
on these loaded things.
Yeah,
you know, start light,
right,
make sure the steps are intentional, and they're not going to be able to do very heavy anyhow
yeah,
because they're not used to it.
sure,
So the load's going to kind of be capped
yeah,
because they're not used to it.
yeah. Just get started. I mean, you know, because they're worried about a lot of times too about recovery, but strongmen are do more stuff like in a competition and they're still recovered.
Yeah.
So like, you know, if you're deadlifting on a Thursday or whatever, it's okay. You can do farmer's walk on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Or farmer's walk in stones. Let's say that's all you did. Your deadlift is going to go, there's maybe, I'm going to say 90% of strongman events are picking something up where your back is very heavy. That's why okay, sure, with or without straps, strongman's deadlifts are absolutely through the roof because everything we do is picking something up off the floor. Most strongmen, right? The top guy.
Yeah.
I mean, Mateusz Kalichkowski hasn't won World's Strongest Man because his deadlift is too low and it's 930 pounds. That's his deadlift, and that's considered bad. Mm-hmm. That's how high strongman the standard is. So anyway, powerlifting, if you just do a little, I promise, even on a squat, if you're used to, even it's just a mental thing, even if you're used to carrying, let's say you squat 400 or 500 pounds, but you can get to where you're used to doing a 700-pound yoke eventually, right? You build up to it. But let's say you eventually got to that weight seems like nothing now. It's absolutely nothing to you. Anyway, so strongmen or powerlifters should absolutely be doing some strongman training. Throw it in and watch all of your lifts go.
Well, the interesting thing, and you mentioned it, was the recovery aspect that they'll throw out, which is very odd to me because strongman train the power lifts, maybe with the exception of the bench press, as their supplemental exercises.
Yeah.
So you can't, if all you do is squat, bench, and deadlift, you say you can't recover if you throw all that other stuff in, because as a strongman are doing, you just need a higher work capacity.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what we were talking about earlier is, you know, increasing that work capacity as long as the performance doesn't suffer because of that. But if your performance suffers because you're doing a loaded carry once a week, then I would question your performance and your programming in the first place. Right. Because you're never going to make it through a full meet.
Sure.
You know, if you have max attempts.
Right. Well, and it might suffer for a week or two.
Yeah. Well, you'll adapt.
You know, and then you adapt. It's adaptation and progression. It's finding the middle ground between adaptation and progression, where you can do a little more than what you think you can.
Yeah.
You can always, strongmen have proven that. You're not going to just like lose your gains. You're going to actually get stronger. But it's finding that middle ground. Otherwise, you'd just be lifting all day, right? So it's somewhere in the middle ground. Adaptation and progression, you want to find that middle ground. So you maybe at first you feel a little bit unrecovered, but it's going to get better. I felt, when I was doing it, I was sore, I was unrecovered, but then I'm like, okay, I have to keep doing strongman, so I have to keep doing it. And eventually I got better and I got stronger. It's like, just keep doing it and you will, I promise, get better. I'm not saying that, every powerlifter has to. All I'm saying is, try it out and see if your lifts don't go up. It can be beneficial. Hafthor and Graham Hicks, two examples, just decided on a whim to do powerlifting meets, and both total 1,100 kilos. They're like, without doing powerlifting prime time, right? It's because their strength from strongman is
transference.
It's just transference. And so whereas you could take a powerlifter who totals 1,100. They won't necessarily, it's going to take some time. It's that correlation, and that's so like anyway, it'll correlate. All I'm saying is it correlates.
Now the Cube Method 3 is still available now. Where is the best place for people to purchase that to where the most will go to you?
Oh yeah, no. Right now, the only place is Starting Strongman.
Okay.
So all of the Cube Method for Strongman books are still available on Starting Strongman. The grip guide, a guide I wrote for just supportive grip, and all the grip guys get mad about. It's not about pinch gripping. It's not about crush grip strength or any. It's only for supportive strength, which strong powerlifters and strongmen both need. Right? It's just holding weight. So anyway, that's on Starting Strongman. All of my ebooks, the Training Camp, Adventures of a Pro Strongman, Cube Method series. It's all on startingstrongman.com. You can go on there and get all of that. That's the only place.
All right. And what's the best way people can follow you?
You can follow me. I'm on Instagram at Josh Thigpen. I think it's my Instagram somewhere in there. Let's see. I think probably I'm maxed out on Facebook, but on Instagram you can go follow me. Sort of Olentius. Go watch all 4 episodes. Like I said, it's a low budget indie production, but it's we're gonna get better. Come join the world, and as we get better, follow us as we get better. Join us, so subscribe, follow those episodes, like the episodes, which will help big time. But yeah, sort of Alentius, Alentius, and Canix.com, great sponsor of mine and friend of mine. 2 X's, Canix, CANNIXX.com. For CBD, absolutely the best stuff ever. I used it when I injured my back. It's very good stuff. So you can find me on all that good stuff. And man, sorry about that last rant there. About
all content you see on this channel and at EliteFTS.com is created by, take a guess, Elite FTS. If you want to help support the content, head over to EliteFTS.com and pick up literally anything that you need to be able to get more jacked and strong.